Hey guys, in today's video, I am going to be doing a get ready with me. I wanted to use a specific eyeshadow palette from Too Faced on camera because initially I didn't really like it. It does take some working with the formulas, but I've done this really pretty pink look a couple of times this summer already that I really enjoy, so I wanted to show you guys how I put it together. I've also done a purple look with the palette, but you guys will see it in just a little bit. So I'm starting off with the Photo Finish Primer from Smashbox. I really enjoy this primer. It does help smooth out the skin, and I'm working on the large tube, which I'm working to finish it off because I do have a mini that I need to start working on. And then I use my Lanolips ointment on my lips just to get them a little moist because they're a little bit dry right now. And then for foundation, I am using Tahoe from the NARS Sheer Glow Foundation. Tahoe is my perfect, and I mean perfect, shade at the moment. It blends right into my skin and it looks really beautiful. I love this foundation. I think it performs beautifully. I think though, if you have combination skin like myself or oily skin, you may not like it during the hotter days of the year because it is a glowy type of foundation, but it works for me and it lasts all day. I do need to do some touch-ups as far as powdering, maybe halfway through the day, but it's nothing major. I actually usually don't bother with it. And then I'm using the Tart Shape Tape concealer. I started off with the medium tan, I think is what it was called. I can't remember now. But quite frankly, I should have started with a Tanslucent first because it's a little bit deeper and a little bit warmer, especially in the darker areas to cover up the darkness under my eyes. And then I should have gone with the medium neutral just because it's a little bit more yellow tone to do a little bit more of a highlight. And I know a lot of people have said that it's very heavy, but I think when you go in with a small amount and maybe thinner layers, and you can apply, I think I applied quite a bit of this, a few layers of the concealer, it doesn't look heavy and it provides really great coverage. It doesn't crease, it doesn't look cakey as the day wears on. So I really enjoy the concealer. I bought the little minis at first to try it out, but I will be investing into the full size, probably the similar shades that I bought in the minis. And then to set all of that, I'm using the Mercier translucent setting powder. I'm just working this one out. I have a few powders actually, so this is the one that I just tend to use the most. I'm trying to finish this one out before I move on to another powder. And then for bronzer, I'm using one of my favorites, which is the Guerlain Terracotta bronzer in 07. I think this one I specifically purchased maybe at a Sephora in Hollywood. Usually the larger Sephoras tend to carry all of the shades, but I'm not really sure if this particular shade is available. But its point is that it's perfect. It's a beautiful shade. It gives me the right amount of warmth and depth in the hollows of the cheeks. And then to highlight, I'm going in with Global Glow. I quite frankly should have used something that wasn't quite as warm. But I think it ends up working out in the end. But I wanted to use Global Glow because I hadn't used it in a really long time, and I just forget how pretty it is, especially for the summer months. So I applied it in the traditional places, you know, cheekbone area, and then tip of my nose, and I even brought it onto my cheekbones and just buffed it in really well. And then the brow liner that I'm using is from Lancolm. It is called the Brow Shaping Powdery Pencil. This one's really great if you have full brows already, to fill in sparse areas, but to create hair-like strokes, it doesn't really work for that, so I wouldn't recommend it for that specifically if your eyebrows are super sparse and you need to create new brows. But if you have full brows, I think it works really well. I'm just showing off my new favorite t-shirt that I bought at a swap meet. I think it's so awesome. It has Hannibal Lecter on it. I'm totally loving this shirt. Okay, for the eyes, I'm starting off with a base, which is the Cream Shadow from MAC in Laying Low. I love this one. It is a little bit lighter than my skin tone, but it blends in really nicely. It works really well as a base. And then I'm going to go in with these two little palettes. And the reason why I have two of these palettes, it's because the That's My Jam palette from Too Faced doesn't have a very light shadow in it for the brow bone area. And I didn't want to use that lightest pink shade under the brow. So I reached for the what is that called? The Wet n Wild little mini palette. I think it's called Candy something. I forget the name of it. Sweet as Candy. I've been trying to focus on this little trio because I've had it for a very long time. So I have been using it quite a bit this summer as well. Just creating the same old look. Actually, I think when I do the next Get Ready With Me, I'm going to use that palette. I also want to use the Comfort Zone palette because I haven't reached for those palettes in a really long time. So anyways, I am starting off with Spread It, which is the lightest shade, and started in the crease area just to create a base there. And then I went with Toast to deepen out. It's pretty much going over top of where I put Spread It, just because it's a little bit too pink and it almost looks a little bit chalky. So the thing with these shadows, especially that lighter pink shade, which is Spread It, it almost looks a little bit chalky when you do windshield wiper motions. Instead, I feel like the mattes apply best when you're tapping them in, and tapping them in will help blend them out as well, and it won't look as chalky for me. I feel like when I have done the windshield wiper motion, it just doesn't really, the lightest shade especially almost disappears. So in order to retain the color, I have to tap it in. Pointless. Okay, and then the shimmer shade that I'm loving so much is Jam Session. This is almost like a little foily shadow. It's a little bit dry. I have to be careful with it because it can create a big old mess on my face if I'm not careful, which is why I'm tapping it in. This part does take me a little while because I am trying to be careful. That's number one. Number two, I have to dip into that shadow a lot. It's not as creamy. It's very, very dry. So I do wet the shadow with some rose water that I have here from Mario Badescu to get it to lay on the eyes. And it still seems to have some sparse areas, I guess I can say, so I have to keep layering and layering over it. I then went in with a clean shadow just to blend out some of the edges, but I also wanted to apply it to the lower lash as well, and just brought it a little bit down. And then I went in with a little bit of Toast to help blend out the edges of Jam Session. It is a pretty shadow, but considering that it looks very almost foily in the pan, it's reflective on the eyes. It's just not as foily looking, I guess I can say. It's still really pretty. I think working with the shadow and taking my time makes it worth it in the end because I really enjoy this eye look. I've done it a couple times this summer already. And then I went in for the lighter shimmery shadow in the Wet n Wild Sweet as Candy. And I wanted to use that under the brow, but also in the inner corners of the eyes, like the tear duct, upper and lower, because it has a little hint of pink. So I think it goes really well with this eye look. And I have as of late been enjoying shimmery shadows under the eye, as long as I buff them out really well and it doesn't look super shimmery, if that makes sense. I like this little trio. Actually, it's really beautiful. And then I went in with the Aqua XL eye pencil in M92 from Makeup Forever. I have so many different fun eyeliner color pencils, and I just never use them because I rarely wear eyeliners, except for the Chanel Stilo Uke, the black and brown, because those last on my eyes a long time, and so does this one. This one lasted almost the entire day. Once it sets, it stays there. But not very often do I use different colors aside from brown and black under, or as a an eyeliner for the waterline. Basically, I just tend to stick with the browns and the blacks for the norm. For lip liner, I'm using Nude from the this is an Italia lip pencil. These are dollar pencils that you can find at random beauty supply stores. And then tapped in a little bit of the matte balm in, I think it's called Showy, from the Revlon Matte Balm. And then I went in with one of my favorite glosses, which is Turkish Delight from NARS. It's just perfect. It goes really well over top of nudie pink lips as well as nude lips. It's the one that I tend to use the most. And then I went in with one of my favorite blushes. It's so pretty. It's called Rock and Rose from CoverGirl. It's part of their Cheekers lines. And this one has a little bit of a sheen, so it does add a little bit of a glow. So I apply this one to the apples of my cheeks and then bring it all the way up and almost drag it into the eyes to connect it, almost like one of those draping eye looks. But I go in very softly. I don't want the blush to show too much, if that makes sense, especially right at the temple area. Just want a little flush of color. And it's really beautiful. I really like this eye look. I've worn this eye look a couple of times now. So that is the finished look. I think it's really pretty. I forgot to mention what mascara I use, which is the one that I'm currently working on. It's the Falsies from Maybelline. And I have the waterproof formula, so I did add some to top and bottom lashes, and then to set my brows, which I also forgot to mention, I use the Control Freak from NYX. It's the gel that I'm currently working on. So I wanted to show you guys what this eye look looks like in with natural light, and I think it's so pretty. It's very soft but colorful at the same time. But I did end up wearing this for a long time. I want to say well over maybe 8 or 9 hours. But I did go ahead and record myself, I think between the 7 and 8 hour mark. I want to say it was like 7.5 hour mark. There's a lot of glow going on. I'm oily in my T-zone because I am combination skin. But it still looked really pretty in person, although there was quite a bit of glow, and it's actually showing true to what I looked like in person. But I didn't do any touch-ups throughout the day. Rarely do I actually do touch-ups because I just don't really bother with it. It's fine. I have been indoor though majority of the day. I did step out a few times to, pick up kids from school and stuff like that. So I was in hot temperatures for a short period amount of times at different times, but a short period amount of times. So I think that also caused a lot of the my oils to come through, but the foundation never broke down. I still could see the bronzer, the blush, the eyes still look really well. A little bit of creasing in certain areas where maybe some of the eyeshadow crease or I'm missing a little bit of the shadow, but the color itself still held on very well. It wasn't anything that was too noticeable. My lipstick is gone, obviously, because I have ate throughout the day and stuff like that. So anyways, thank you for watching, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.